Welcome to the Experience Strategy Podcast with Joe Pine, author of the new Transformation Economy book, Dave Norton, an experienced futurist, woo! And me, Aransas, an expert in coaching, transformation, and motivation. I don't usually throw in transformation there, but it's true.
Hey, you are. You are.
We are collectively, which is why it's been so much fun to talk about Joe's book, because it's meant so much to all of us, both the creation of it, the research that went into it, and now the launch. And I'm giving it to every one of my clients. And I'm like, here, this is what I'm talking about. Now let's use it.
Super.
So today we're going to take a little bit of a different approach. Instead of bringing you an article from traditional media, we're going to bring you an article from X, Twitter. What do we call it anymore? I don't know how to say it. The artist formerly known as Twitter. It's called Something Big is Happening, which lame title. This article is about AI. And I was like, it was clearly written by AI, but that's another conversation. And I'll tell you why I believe that and why that's relevant in a minute. But it is by Matt Schumer, someone we really respect for his opinions and perspective on this. The article has clearly hit a chord. It's been reshared 38,000 times. I think it's been read 83 million times. So it's no accident. We're talking to you about this as well, because we think Matt has some really valuable things to say in here. And I'm just going to read you the first paragraph here, so that if you aren't one of the 83 million readers, you'll know where we're starting here. So Matt starts by saying, think back to February 2020. If you were paying close attention, you might have noticed a few people talking about a virus spreading overseas, but most of us weren't paying close attention. The stock market was doing great. Your kids were in school. You were going to restaurants and shaking hands and planning trips. If someone told you they were stockpiling toilet paper, you would have thought they'd been spending too much time in a weird corner of the internet. Then, over the course of about 3 weeks, the entire world changed. Your office
Boom.
closed, your kids came home, your life rearranged itself into something you would not have believed if you described it to yourself 1 month earlier.
Yeah.
I think we're in the this seems overblown phase of something much, much bigger than COVID. His article then goes on to describe why, as an AI expert, he believes that we are in a similar and even more urgent crisis regarding AI. The article itself is rich and dense, and we're going to talk about a lot of it here. Know that he comes to this as a coder, knowing that the bias in the development of AI was really to replace engineers. And so he's seeing firsthand how this has affected his work and why he believes it's coming for all of our work, kids. So strap in. I'll just orient us a little further by zipping through some of the key points of the article. And then Dave, Joe, and I, even though Joe and I both have colds, it probably sound terrible. Sorry. We'll work through some of the finer points of it. So the first main point he makes is that people who've only casually used AI or who haven't used it in the last year or so probably vastly underestimate its capabilities currently. He makes the point that it's gotten increasingly, massively, exponentially bigger every year. It's also gotten faster. It's also been better at navigating and reproducing highly complex tasks. It's also gotten increasingly more independent. In other words, it needs humans less. I've been thinking a lot about how it's getting more humans involved too. And so we'll talk about that as well, and what all this extra human engagement and investment in its development has meant just from casual users who are in there saying, how do I do my kids' math homework? Raising my hand on that one. When we talk about it being independent, Matt talks about how AI is now building the next AI. So there's a quote in here from ChatGPT technical documentation. They said their current model is the first model that was instrumental in creating itself. Lots to unpack around here from both a societal standpoint, but also just a developmental standpoint. But Codex, their latest model, 5.3, debugged itself, its own training, it managed its own deployment. So what it's doing is it's running these longer, more complex tasks independently. This means that no matter how complex our jobs are, no matter how distant they seem from current AI capabilities, Matt's point is that it's coming and it's getting closer and closer, not by the minute, but by the millisecond. So I'll take a second here and just run through what he says we should actually do, because I think it was actually in some ways the most important part of the article. He says use AI seriously, spend time getting to know it, and really asking it hard questions about your job and your life to understand what it's doing. Give up the ego here that says like, oh, I'm too good for this. Get your financial house in order. So this is probably not a time to be living on the edge of your financial means. Think about where you stand and lean into what's hardest to replace. So basically, I think he makes the point that anything that you do on a screen is going to be replaced in the next year to 2 years. So think about your differentiators. And I want to talk about that more with the guys here, because it's something we're all really passionate about. What do humans really, truly do best? Not because AI can't replace it, because it's going to be the slowest to replace. And then rethink what you're telling your kids. I have 2 teenagers, so this is a hot topic in our house. But he makes that point alongside your dreams just got a lot closer. So in both of those points, he's really saying like, think about what you're really passionate about and invest time and energy in that, because AI can be a great tool for both our kids and our own dream development, and then get in the habit of adapting, he says finally. So I think that's something we're all learning together, but things are changing quickly. So the more engaged we are, the more we can move with the process instead of having to try to change ourselves in orders of magnitude that we aren't accustomed to. It's good behavior change principle in general. So with that, guys, I know that was a super long intro, but I felt like why start with what he wrote when we can build on it? But I also want to make sure that everybody who's listening is with us. If that was a quicker overview than you wanted, push pause, go read Matt's quick article, go down some rabbit holes like we did, and then come back and listen to the rest of this episode. So, Dave, you are the one who kicked this ball into the court. So, what was it that got you sort of most energized or concerned or activated in any way based on this article?
Yeah, so it was funny. Two people immediately sent me this article within, like, I don't know, 1 minute of each other on the day that it posted. Uh, and it had already hit. It was crazy. It was crazy. My son sent it to our family group chat. My coworker sent it to our to me directly, and they both wanted to know. They were just like, "What do we do? Like, what do we even go to work tomorrow? Like,
Yeah.
is this really, going to happen the way it is?" I do think that knowledge work has changed and forever. And I think that that is going to be a rough adjustment for all of us that are knowledge workers, and all experienced strategists are knowledge workers. They just are. That's what we're hired to do. So this is very relevant to experience in general. It's not a topic that we have shied away from on this podcast. We have talked about this. We have suggested for years now on this podcast, in our collaboratives, about things that you can be doing as an experienced strategist to get in front of this technological shift. We just are a little bit, I think I'm just a little bit blown away by just how successful AI has become in a very short period of time. Now, I am not nearly as big a fan of the new Chat GPT LLM that is supposedly so good when I compare it to the Claude Opus 4.5, which blows me away. I mean, it just blows me away, and is as close as I've ever gotten to seeing, like, my son, who has his own business that he's trying to get up. He like created his own virtual CEO or CFO, and it does a great job. It really does a great job for him, for his very small little organization that he's built. So there's some crazy stuff that's going on from that standpoint. And I do have like three things that I want to suggest, but I'm going to let Joe jump in first because you haven't said a word yet. So
I yeah, we have talked about it before. Matt's post is, in my mind, a bit over the top in its description, but very good in its prescription.
Well
And
said.
AI is a tool; it's a technology. Like I cannot think of a technology that has eliminated more jobs than it's created. First of all, I don't see AI as being any different. It's going to create a whole lot of jobs, as well as eliminate a lot of jobs. But if you do his prescription of figuring out how to use AI and to incorporate it in your work, what that does is frees up your time to do greater work at higher levels of value. Right now, like any disruptive innovation, truly disruptive innovation, it starts at the bottom and works its way up, and so you have to be working up above that yourself. There, it is, and again, it is a tool. It's not an intelligence. There are many issues that keep coming to light. Even more, I've read in the past week, about some very negative things that it does, including in the last week one programmer who created an AI or used an AI to look at open source software issues. And so in this, he rejected one thing that the AI did, and I think said why, and did something else. And the AI wrote a very negative blog post on him, right? It's an open software, saying, you can't trust this guy. Look at the way he thinks, and that he dared to reject something that I did, right? And that's just not behavior you want to see out of your AIs, along with a lot of other behavior that's bad. I also worry about increasingly being its own echo chamber, and the more it's trained on AI output, you're definitely going to have that fact. And we all know the telephone game and how it degenerates conversation. And I think that's going to happen with AI too. Now they're going to have to work on ways to be able to counteract that as well, which they should. But it is perhaps the greatest tool for knowledge workers to work, and a lot of it comes with the mindset that you have, right? He said very early on, it may have been not in your first paragraph there, or first couple of paragraphs, Aransas, but elsewhere that oh, now I forgot where I was going with that, which increasingly happens not just with the cold, but with age.
Well, we can.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It'll come to me.
So I think what you're saying is really important here about AI feeding AI.
I remember what it was.
Oh, what was it?
Right. So it's the key is how you come up with mindset change, right? People, executives in particular, come with the mindset of automating people.
Yeah.
And if you come with the mindset of how can I get rid of people, guess what? You're going to find ways to get rid of people.
That's right.
But if you come with the mindset about how this augments my people's skills and abilities and knowledge,
how it strengthens
and strengthens them, makes them better, and it's totally with that mindset change, then you'll be even more amazed at what the human plus AI can do rather than what the AI minus the human can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this is interesting on a lot of fronts, and there is certainly big debates going on around both the good and the evil. There was an article that I was reading from Fortune, and this says AI could trigger a global job market collapse by 2027 if left unchecked. The Google ethicist warned, and I think that is absolutely plausible based on this article. And I think you said maybe it's a bit of an attention grabbing description that we're reading here on X, but I also think that's the point, right? Is to get people's attention. And for those of you who've been following along on this show for a while, you know that we talk a lot about having a point of view. And this is a really great example of thought leadership POV. And it's the kind of POV I think every experienced strategist needs to have in their company right now. Is right. Like, we've got to have a strong point of view on how AI will play in our organizations if we're even going to be at the table, but specifically for our experience.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where, like, if I link all this together, right, what's probably the most defensible experience point of view you're going to have right now, it's probably transformation, because it is the one that is built on technology and, generally speaking, is going to be most impactfully financially valuable, because it's oftentimes going to include a very, very well-trained guide from AI, and hopefully some humans involved in there too. But it does take an expert and highly curated AI, which I think is ultimately the point of view we're talking about here for companies.
I like what you're saying. I'm going to add a couple of other things from my current point of view around this. First of all, experienced strategists should be paying attention to the concept of provenance, which is there needs to be an original source that things come from. Cool. So if you're going to talk about consumers and you're not going to do any research with consumers, where you're actually going to talk to consumers, maybe you have that experience with consumers, then you're like 3 steps away from provenance, okay? And you need to signal that that's what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to end up like in this, what Joe's calling an AI echo chamber. Provenance is going to become more and more important. And those of us that can provide provenance are going to be more and more valuable because the inputs have to be better. So original data, original source, how do you get to that? The second is cross-disciplinary abilities. As experienced strategists, we've thought very narrowly about what it is that we do. We've talked about journey maps and personas. Come on, wake up. We've been trying to get you people to wake up for a long time. You need to be able to think like a marketer. You need to be able to think like a planner. You need to be able to think across multiple venues. And that's one of the things that AI does for you, is it creates these superpowers. And you need to be not just going deeper and deeper around personas. Please. I mean, that'll take care of itself. There's still a role for it to play. There's still a role for journeys to play, but you now have superpowers, and you've got to think in terms of how you manifest yourself associated with that. And like Joe, now all of a sudden I can't think of my third point, but those are 2 really good points right there.
That's right.
Those are 2 really good points to add on top of what Aransas was saying in terms of point of view. You've got to think about the near future need of your customer. That's what a point of view is. Yeah. It's not like, well, my opinion is it's not like COVID. It's more like, something else. That's not what we're talking about. Okay?
That's an opinion.
That's an opinion. What we're talking about is what Joe has put together a whole book around transformation. That is a point of view.
It sure is.
It's got provenance. It's got, so you've got to think about a strategic point of view. That's my third point.
Well, I'll add to what you're saying.
Even if it wasn't
there.
Your original third point.
Exactly. It's a third point.
It is
I'm going to add more words to this too, which is that I think this is a time for texture. And it aligns with this idea of provenance because it is a time for really signaling authenticity. And my 15-year-old, who I've shared before, is like very anti-AI and technology, which reading this article, I was like, ooh, I don't know how we do this. I have an idea. But I think a lot of people her age, that's sort of the radical point of view right now, is to be anti-AI. But she said that everything she's reading right now is saying this is the era of typos and texture. And
Yep.
so what we want is
Patina.
things that feel genuinely, deeply, profoundly human. And so while AI has been in the past, and increasingly less so, great at giving us false data, we don't want to make mistakes in the area of like significant, like meaningful data mistakes. But we do in terms of like messy feelings and little
Yeah.
typos and awkward, quirky ways of spelling things and abbreviating them and punctuating them.
And
Right.
forgetting third
And
points.
that's true with our code too. And forgetting our points. Oh my God,
Yeah.
y'all, we're so
This was
human.
not generated by AI, for sure.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about Dave's point, though. I'm sorry, Joe's point. We are all losing it today. Joe's point about AI sort of corrupting AI. So I did some reading on this today, and they call it what they've sort of branded it as is model collapse, where it has fed itself so much that it enters this cyclical echo chamber. And it made me think of the show Pluribus. Have you guys watched it?
Yeah, parts of it.
And
I haven't finished it yet.
so it's kind of about this alien hive mind that comes and takes over everyone except for a dozen people. And I found the show super boring, but I watched the whole thing, and much more interesting if I think of it as a metaphor. Because if I think of it as a narrative, I'm like, come on. But if I think of it as a metaphor of this sort of cyclical thinking where everyone becomes sort of one voice, I think that's a big contributor to this model collapse, is that the biases that are being fed to it by humans are getting replicated and enhanced.
And those biases, by the way, are also like commoditizing everything. So
Everything.
Hey, listen, we have covered some of this before, so go back and listen to some of our episodes, folks, because I think we're right on top of it. So.
Yep. We're not done. We'll keep talking about this and applying it to us. One last quote to scare the heck out of all of us is from the Anthropic CEO. He says, AI will be substantially smarter than almost all humans at almost all tasks by 2026 or 2027. So this isn't a like sit on our hands and wait situation. This is a get engaged situation. And it doesn't mean we have to believe all of this, agree. It doesn't believe it's a foregone conclusion. It means it's the time to engage.
Right. And it is, in my mind, it's a classic case of tech bros believing their own hype. They have this hype, and then they believe. The closer you are to it, it's like the more you believe that that these things are going to happen. And I just think, no, it's not.
Okay.
I dressed like a tech pro today just in honor of it.
Me too.
All right, guys. Look forward to seeing you next week. For those of you listening, thanks so much for tuning in. Sorry we've been a little bit patchy in releasing episodes recently, but Joe's on book tour. Dave's got a new gig. I'm writing a book. We've got a bunch of things that we are urgently getting done, but we're going to keep checking in with you as frequently as we possibly can. So subscribe and you'll get alerted right away via YouTube or via your podcasting station to any new episodes that drop. And most of all, just subscribe to the experiencestrategist.com over on Substack, and we'll make sure to directly send you every episode. And then you don't even have to look for it.
All right.